Let's say you're feeling anxious or nervous, depressed, completely done with life. Let's say you don't really see a point to continue doing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you've become completely disillusioned with what people have told you. What people have told you is the truth. What people have told you will make you happy. Maybe what people have said will make you happy or fulfilled just isn't possible in this day and age. And you're feeling increasingly like life has started to become more of a burden to you than a joy. Like life has started to become more of an obligation. Great way to start this video. I'm going to apologize right off the bat because I'm driving and I don't want to die or be the cause of someone else's grievous bodily injuries. So my eyes are going to be on the road, not so much on you for the majority of this. But what I am going to talk about is something that might concern you quite a lot. If you're in a certain space right now of feeling like your options are very, very limited, or you feel like you're starting to shut yourself out from the world, like you're starting to recluse, like you might be seeing some opportunities, but you're just not confident enough to take them, or you lack a belief in either yourself or in the world that things are actually going to pan out and that everything is going to work out in the end. So you feel kind of crippled, and as a result won't take any kind of action towards something that might be a little uncomfortable for you. There are quite a few different remedies for that. There are a few different schools of thought. There are a few different mindsets you could have in order to overcome that, right? If that's what you want to call it. But the one that I've found to be the most beneficial as a first step, the one that everything else will kind of build off when it comes to starting to really live an inspired life again. Because at the end of the day, that's what this really is. It's about living an inspired life. What does it mean to live an inspired life? Does an inspired life mean living in fear? Does it mean being anxious? Does it mean hating everyone who has a difference of opinion? Does it mean trusting those who are in higher positions of power than you to do what is right? Maybe to you, but not to me. So, what is living an inspired life? What is living a life not crippled by fear, not crippled by anxiety, but instead one that can result in you waking up every day actually excited to start your day? One that doesn't have you rolling over, hitting the snooze button. One that doesn't have you wishing that you could just lay in bed for another few hours, but one that actually makes you literally leap out of bed, excited for the extra hours that can afford you. It all starts with one thing, and that one thing is gratitude. Gratitude is the closest thing to a secret pill or a magic pill that you can take, really, when it comes to changing your life around for the better in the context we described. Gratitude is the foundation, is the building block for pretty much any good habit or any good mindset that you can acquire in order to change the way you think about life, in order to change the way you think about yourself. And there are many different ways in order to actually feel the full effects of this. Because right now you may not be thinking that I'm saying anything that's really substantial. Maybe you're thinking, well, obviously gratitude is good. Everyone knows gratitude is good. You're not really saying anything revolutionary with this. But I think that some people might have needed to hear this today, so that's why I'm coming through as a reminder that despite how easy it is to fall into hate or disappointment or depression, anxiety, no matter how difficult it might feel to actually be grateful for stuff that's going on in your life right now, that is the most powerful place that you can come from as a person. And the reason why is because when you're grateful, you stop being a victim. When you're grateful, you stop thinking of life as something that's happening to you, and you start thinking of life as something that's happening for you. And there are a bunch of different ways in order to really start ingraining this into your life. Because if you're anything like me, you might already have known this. In fact, you definitely know this. But it doesn't actually make any sort of difference in your day-to-day life, because, you know, you get up, you go to work or wherever, and you get caught up in the busyness of the day. You get caught up in other people's drama. You get caught up in your obligations, right? And you might forget that. You might forget how powerful gratitude actually is. And if you've truly experienced what that gratitude feels like, you might think, well, how could I ever step away from this? How could I have ever let myself slip into a different mindset, into thinking that I was victimized, into feeling any number of things, right? And gratitude is slippery because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to fall out of that the best way, honestly, in order to keep this mindset is to have daily rituals or some sort of daily routine, or just a few minutes of the day that you can take aside specifically for gratitude. And what that would look like is something like 5 minutes just sitting down first thing in the morning to yourself and just thinking of everything that you're grateful for. Now, that might have sounded kind of like whatever to you, and I get it, because if you've tried to do that, you could understand how that might not work for the long run. And that hasn't worked for me in the long run either, which is why I want to present something else to you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So probably the most important tangible change that you can make in terms of gratitude is when it comes to your words. So the way you speak and the way that you think to yourself has such a massive impact on the way you feel. And there are so many word patterns which have been ingrained into you by society. So many word patterns that we just use and take for granted that are actually taking away from our happiness and taking away from our gratitude. And we can just make very small tweaks, very, very small tweaks to the way that we speak. Just speak a little bit more mindfully and think a little bit more mindfully. And that can make massive long-term shifts. It's very little thing in the moment, but over time it can grow. So what's an example of this? An example, I have to get up and go to work today. Very, very universal feeling. I'm sure you can relate in some way or the other. What could that be changed to? So instead of I have to get up and go to work today, maybe you could say, I can get up and go to work today. That might be a little bit better because it's taking you out of obligation, out of the burden mindset of needing to do something, right? Having to do something, being forced to do something. And it takes it more into a world of possibility. I can get up to work today. Almost like you have an option, right? And just that little tweak, it rewires something in your brain where you don't look at it with so much disdain anymore, right? What's next? If you want to even go a level above that, you could even go to, I will get up to work today. Now, what does that do? What does the shift from can to will do? The shift from can to will reframes it as something that is your decision. Instead of I have to or I need to, which is someone else's decision, you can move up to I can, which is still uncertain, so it's not perfect, but at least it's still better than being forced to do something that someone else dictates for you. And then if you want to get even more specific than that, you go to I will. Now, I will go to work today is something that is of your own volition. It's something that you chose for yourself. That's why it's powerful, because you're changing the way you're speaking, you're changing the way you're thinking in terms of taking ownership for your life, taking ownership for where you are, and understanding that this is my decision to do this. And as people, we will always have more conviction in things that we decide are our decisions for ourselves, more so than what someone else tells us we should do, right? And that's not even the end. The end all and be all of this, at least to my experience, is even beyond I will. It's I get to. Now that is like a life hack. That's like the closest thing to like a little life hack that you can do to hack your gratitude into the stratosphere. I don't know. Like whatever clickbaity title you want to come up with. I get to is probably the most insane shift that I can think of when it comes to reframing the way you look at things on a day-to-day basis. And it might not sound like that, but trust me, actually think about the amount of things that you say you have to do or you need to do. Oh, I need to take the dog for a walk. Oh, I have to go, call whoever right now. I need to go to work today. Oh, I have to go fill up my car petrol. I have to go to the gym. I have to eat healthy. I need to make money, right? The amount of things that you say on a day-to-day basis, which begin with I need to or I have to, they're like shackles around your neck. Like every more need or every more have to is literally just like another chain around your neck. It's a chain over your shoulders. That's all it is, right? And in tweaking, just slightly tweaking, just with a tiny bit of mindfulness, catching yourself in the moment and tweaking it to I get to, what you do is you alleviate those shackles. Like they become a little bit lighter with every single phrase that you say, I have to do this, I have to do that, you change it to, I get to do this, I get to do that. It just lifts it very, very slightly. But every single one of those slight shackles that are lifting off, over time and overall, the sheer amount, it's astronomical. So that is my little life hack for you, I guess, if you want to call it a life hack. Gratitude is something that has transformed the way that I think in my life, and I think it's something that can transform the way that you think as well. It can get you out of some really deep, dark, toxic patterns in your mind, and that's something that I would love for you to do. So if you've made it to the end of this, thank you, I love you, and I want you to know that things can get better and that you can take the first step to making things better just with this very, very simple, very little start. Instead of talking about having to do things, just say you get to do those things. You're here. You can do these things. You have the option to do these things. Not everyone does. Trust me, not everyone does. You get up and go to work in the morning. You get to make money. You get to eat healthy. You get to go to the gym. Like, all of these things are amazing, wonderful things. But the way that we trick ourselves into this deep pit, this well of despair that so many of us can find ourselves in, can be rooted back. It can be gone back all the way to the way we speak, our word patterns. Changing our word patterns is possibly one of the biggest steps we can take on a day-to-day basis in order to rewire the way we think overall. And if you're still skeptical about this, that's fine. There are a plethora of reasons as to why I would very, very strongly invite you to the possibility of at least considering the fact that rewiring your brain to think in a more gratitude, expansive state is in the long run more beneficial for you on a tangible level as well. It's not just mental masturbation. It's not just, oh, like, I'm living in crap, but I'm just gonna think that everything's better than it is. It goes far beyond that, and I've already started going way too long on this. I don't want to go too long, so I'm gonna love and leave you, but I will get into this later on. I'm gonna film more videos. I'm gonna get more into the way how gratitude can shape and reform your life, because I feel like this is something that people need to hear. It might not be the clearest, it might not be the most coherent message, but I'm gonna keep doing this until it can finally reach you in whatever form, in whatever iteration. I'm gonna keep putting out this message because I think it's probably the most important message for you to hear at this point in your life.